how sweet it is. Mando sucks to be loved by you nerds. What is up? It's me, your buddy pal HeyArcher. Welcome back to HeyArcher Live here on Nerd Affiliated. I said we're on Nerd Affiliated, and we're so happy to have all of you. Welcome back to all of you returning members. Welcome to all you new members here on HeyArcher Live. We sit back, relax, we pour ourselves a drink in our Mandalorian glass as we cheers to the death of a franchise, the death of a Mandalorian. Just kidding. Am I though? I'm unsure. Either way, Anthony's in the house today. We're talking about it. We'll keep this week's episode spoiler free just in case. But we also talk about other fun things. Blue Beetle got a trailer this week. Guardians of the Galaxy got a trailer, but I didn't watch that one yet. And Bad Batch has finished. Creed 3 still out there. Like, what are you guys watching? You tell me. If you've got a YouTube channel, a podcast, a blog, a vlog, an OnlyFans, a newsletter, smoke signals, put it in the chat. Support one another. Plug yo shit. I actually also tried to pull up Either today. For those of you OGs in the chat, a little bit of Either where you choose red, you choose blue. Website's gone. Website's down. I don't know what's going on. So there's no more Either. So we're gonna have to find another game to play from time to time here on the show. But again, there's so much to talk about. I'm sure we won't even get to that. WrestleMania was last week. If there's any wrestling heads in the chat, feel free. Leave your comments down below. The great evil Vince McMahon, the dictator, is back. Lots going on in the nerd space. I count wrestling as the nerd space, even though some of them might think otherwise. But I digress. Without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Senor Anthony, in the house.
Good evening.
How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well. That wrestling totally counts as nerd space.
It does,
they had a
right?
guy dress up as the Hurricane with a mask and a cape, for God's sake.
He was a superhero.
They had well, Blue Meanie, but what was what was the Hulk Hogan, Mr. America, like where he wore the mask, or you know what I mean, right? Like he wore the blue mask also, and like he was it was Hulk Hogan when he came back, but like it's a character they used before.
Mr. America. Yeah. Look at that.
Mr. America.
Anthony with the freaking wrestling references here.
Tell me that WWE is not nerd affiliated in their own way. And yeah.
You're right. Well, before we continue, let's say hi to everybody in the chat. We have Duffman. Oh yeah, in the chat. Oh, yeah. Good to see our main man Mark in the house. Good to see Aaron Waller, the hardest working man on YouTube, in the house. Forgot about the stream tonight. Hey,
but he's here.
And then Duffman shipping out my diorama. Apparently, I won a diorama from Duffman. I didn't even realize it. So I'm excited for that to come, for some good old figure photography. However, before we continue, of course, nerdaffiliated.com, your one-stop shop for the latest podcast, the latest clips, and you join the Nerd Foundation there. Become a channel member, support the movement, and once you do that, you can get yourself some cool merch over at nerdaffiliated.com. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah!
Hey, walk.
By the way,
walk in the house.
In your intro, I liked how you slipped in the Mandalorian sucks.
Yeah.
This time.
Yeah, I had to. In the chat, all right. So, a little backstory for all of you. Senor Anthony and myself, we did a podcast, and I'm hoping I can edit it tomorrow morning and drop it tomorrow. If not Saturday, it will come out. I don't know a soul out there that is loving this season. Not a person. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna change that. I do know some people who are loving the season, and they going for the tickets. We need to get those free tickets. We need to get those gift boxes, and that's why they
those
like the
guys.
season. And I forgot at the very top that I hope all of you by now have at least poured yourself just a little bit of
More specifically, vodka, whiskey, beer, tequila, more beer, more vodka, more whiskey, and more beer.
and I actually may have somebody joining the channel that will be our resident I need some tickets person. So stay tuned for that. However,
Oh,
and they know this. They know this. Paximus in the house. Good to see you. Paximus is not that person. Josh in the house. Josh is not that
Josh the
person.
So actually, I was going to say, we have to talk to the casual Josh.
Yeah.
What Josh in the chat? What do you
Yeah.
think of this season?
Yeah.
Because I am curious if the not you, me, Aaron, and Sal are enjoying this.
Yeah. It's rough. And here's the thing too. Oh, also not the person, but in the house, General Kenobi has joined the fight. So I have seen and I understand when people are like, "Oh, I liked that episode." Like, that was fine. Fine episode. Fine whatever. But I don't know anybody who's like, "Man, this season's really doing it for me." Like, this is the Mandalorian. I don't see that. I don't see that anywhere. Again, outside of a handful. But in the chat, I'd love to know. And for you, just as a spoiler, what are you giving this season? If you have to get it out of 10 so far. What do you got?
Sorry, you said in the chat, and I forgot that I'm here for a second. All right.
Rubbish, filth.
I'm sober. I don't even have an excuse. That's just a good old-fashioned brain fart. Honestly, out of 10, this season would probably get like a 4 so far.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's, and for all things we said in the podcast that's going to come out, it's just a mess. Like, you can't tell me it's not a mess. You can't tell me it's not campier and stuff like that, which there's some space for that. But, going back, what was it, episode 1, where he's on the planet with Carl Weathers and the whole Babu Frick race and that, like, back and forth. That's too much, that's too much camp. Like, I'm okay with it having a couple of lighthearted moments here and there, but, and that's not the only reason I'm giving it a 4. That's just one reason that popped into my head first. So, oh, wow. A 2 out of 10. Even Josh says a 4
Lenny.
out of 10.
Yeah. Lenny doesn't hate anything. 2 out of 10. That's wild.
Wow.
That's wild. Yeah.
Damn.
Josh gave it a 4. Yeah. That's awesome. Awesome, old man. It is, look at General Kenobi. He's around a 6. The action has been nuts, but that's about it. So General Kenobi was on stream, if it was last week or the week before, all the weeks become a blur in my head, but General Kenobi was on recently. I was watching his stream last night, watched a lot of it, the rest of it this morning, I should say. And even General Kenobi's like, this is kind of rough. What's going on here is kind of rough. And I agree with him, though. Whenever there's fighting involved, it looks amazing. And you and I, to spoil that part of the podcast, we do say that visually there are some marks in the season where they hit it. Like, they hit hard.
Yeah.
And that's probably where the flowers end. There's no more cheers to you after visually some parts look good. I think visually the best Mandalorian so far has been those 2 episodes of Book of Boba Fett. I feel like all the budget went into those, into the Halo ring and all that stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, that'd be an argument to be made. I think actual Mandalore itself, like, showing it, like, it looked pretty cool considering it was supposed to be, a planet turned to glass. That
Right.
the little bit we saw and things of that nature.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, that after the visual aspects, that like you said, that's it. The accolades stop, and we have to, unless you're, you know, getting those tickets, you have to start
Yep.
being critical.
Yep.
And it's not critical necessarily, like we said. I'll stop spoiling the podcast after this. It's not critical of the performances.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, it's the same thing. It's like it's critical of what we're getting because we have gotten two really, really amazing seasons out of this show.
Hmm.
And it's just now it's like, what are you doing? Like, what's the
Yeah.
point?
Why are you
What
doing
is the
this?
point? Yeah.
I love that
But
Lenny comes off and says, to be fair, I've never seen any of it. So cheers to you, Lenny.
oh, Lenny.
You know, I can't believe that slipped by me, that I took your rating and was like, yeah, because Lenny hates Star Wars. Lenny,
Oh, I didn't know
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Lenny, not a Star Wars guy. Lenny, not an anime guy, but he knows everything there is to know about the Fast and Furious and some other things.
It's all about family.
It's all about family. You know, I'm going to put Lenny on blast for a second since we're here, since we're talking. 1 second here. Just going to pull up some good old For Those with Good Taste. So if you guys have not done so, make sure you subscribe over to For Those Good Tastes, Lenny's podcast. Lenny, actually, I'm going to really quickly jump in and mute. So Lenny has been doing this thing that I absolutely love, right? Lenny has a green screen behind him now and just will be talking about whatever. And it's just green screen is just going. And Dante, by the way, it looks like you got a new camera, unless it's just my computer, but it looking more crisp. So cheers to you, sir. But Dante, who is now the producer of the show, is on the bottom left here. And Dante knows shit about shit, right? Like Dante knows about cars. Actually, I'll give you that. Dante, he knows cars. But the other day, there was an episode where he's like, Lenny asked him something along the lines of, tell me about your favorite Jason Momoa moment or something like that. And Dante's like, well, I hate the fact that he keeps coming back to wrestling. Like, he should just retire. And Lenny's like, I think you mean The Rock. And he's like, oh, yeah, that's it. So we're at that stage. But Lenny the other day comes off and goes, rank to me, because they're talking about top, what was it? Christopher Nolan the other day, and this is a question actually for all of you. Christopher Nolan the other day made a comment about there's no good part 3s out there. And that was him even talking about The Dark Knight part 3. He's like, it's just impossible to make a good part 3. So Lenny poses the question I think it was this episode here. He poses out the question, like, what are the best number 3 movies out there? So Dante says, first of all, number 1 by far, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Die Hard with a Vengeance, the best third movie in any franchise. Actually, real quick, do you agree?
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. First Die Hard I saw in the theater, by the way.
There you go. But I love that we froze on this screen here. I'm just gonna leave that there. So we Dante goes, Tokyo Drift is a top number 3 movie. And I wasn't mad at that. Tokyo Drift was the first thing I thought of when I was thinking of best third movies. And Lenny has the nerve to say, what? Name me your top Fast and Furious movies in order. And I was like, you son of a bitch. Nobody knows the difference between any of those movies outside of 1, 2, and 3. Like, after that, it's all the same movie.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree?
They are all the same movie. Even, like you said, Tokyo Drift, okay?
Yeah.
They're in Tokyo. They're still street racing. And they just go sideways.
Yeah.
They destroy handbrakes a lot more.
Yeah. And by the way, I forgot to mention that, how Lenny is blatantly behind Dante's. They have not gotten Dante's on green screen yet. So it adds to the flavor of the show. 10 out of 10. You guys should subscribe to For Those Good Tastes. That's all I'm saying. It's great. And then Lenny says he also thought Kim Jong and Donnie Yen were the same person in John Wick. Or Ken Jong. Who's Ken Jong? Am I supposed to know who that is?
I haven't seen the new one,
Jong.
so.
Oh. Ken Jong from The Hangover.
Oh, shit. Yeah, no, two different guys.
Yes, I love that. I absolutely love that. That's
Although
amazing.
that would be funny if he made an appearance in John Wick.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Aaron Waller says, speaking of wrestling, I started watching Heels on Stars, and it's pretty good so far. You have shared like clips from Stephen Amell on Instagram about the show. Have you actually watched the show? Or has Sal been watching the show and I don't realize it?
I actually watched the show. Season 1 came out over a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
It came out probably in like 2019, I want to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was pre-pandemic.
So it was pre-pandemic, and there was a huge delay because of the pandemic. And like he said the last time he was on Inside of You, there was like a thing where like Stars was getting sold or something like that. There was some confusion with the properties and ownership. So season 2 comes out this summer. I thought it was good. I haven't actually watched actual wrestling like you and Sal, and I don't know if Aaron has, but like you and Sal have lately.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like the only, wrestling show I've been watching, which was even more scripted than the real wrestling show. But yeah, I thought it was good. Like, it's just, I mean, do you want me to tell you about the story real quick, or?
Actually,
I enjoyed it.
I'm curious I'm curious to hear what the plot is of that show.
So basically, Amel is an older, like if you've seen the blonde guy in the trailers, the blonde guy is Amel's brother. Their father ran the DWF, the Duffy Wrestling Federation, I believe it was. And, it's a hometown wrestling league in like Duffy, Georgia or something. And their father is dead. Amel decided to resurrect the league. He's trying to keep it going, and it's like all shoestring budgets and handful of wrestlers, and it's basically like about the backstage stuff, about the family stuff. Amel is still trying to keep kayfabe, so like he won't even go to like church functions on the weekends with his wife and kid.
I love that.
I can't remember his name. If you keep scrolling, maybe I'll see a picture of him. There's an older actor who plays a veteran wrestler who like made it to the big time, and they don't ever call it the WWE or anything like that. But
you're pretty
it's
sure
like
that's
a
what
big.
it is.
It's big. It's corporate, and like this guy implodes, and Amel's trying to make the league a big thing, and he's having a feud with like a guy over in Florida who's not like invested in it like he is in terms of like his family history. He's just making a splash, and way too much stuff for me to summarize. But at its core, it's these two brothers, their dynamic with each other, the shit they do to each other, trying to keep this league alive, butting heads because it's the younger brother versus the older brother, things of that nature. The older brother is like completely insane. Oh yeah, there they are. The guy on the left is in that picture is the wrestler. He's gone and come back. He was actually trying to poach the younger brother there for the not possibly probably
WWE.
is WWE and things of that nature. But yeah, it's they're trying to shoot their shot and make it work. And like Chris Jericho, I started listening to his podcast. I think he actually had Amel on it, and Jericho was like, "Yeah, I know all these people. I know the." Like I know this little mom and pop promotion that you guys have created. I know like, the jobbers who are there for forever, the guys who are, like just trying to do it for fun, the guys who are trying to do it to catapult their careers. So the fact that Jericho gave it more or less his stamp of approval, that I think that sealed it that I wanted to watch it because I was curious what he was going to do following Arrow.
Right.
So I was curious, but then I think I probably heard the podcast and then decided to, sit down and give it a shot. So that's my very not brief answer of what it's about.
Did he confirm or deny that he left Arrow to do the show?
No, I think he. I don't think it was like that. I think it was, he wanted Arrow was coming to an end probably because of ratings or whatever. And on the podcast, he talks about. It's been a while since I heard this one, but he actually says he wishes he had extended his break between Arrow and Heels.
Mm.
But he never said, and like, I mean, I've never heard anything where like, he killed Arrow because he was tired of it or anything like that. So I think it was just,
Well, that was the rumor before.
Oh,
that he was kind of sick of it and was like, I'm good. I'm going to head out. Like this show can't keep going.
I mean, maybe there was, but he's not wrong. I mean, it's first of all, it's on the CW, and how many times can, it's the villains, okay, yeah, they change, but you can't ever really have a hardcore season. As much as in the first season he's killing people and whatnot, that ended pretty quickly. And that's fine. I'm not saying the Green Arrow should have killed, but like, they have to soften it up eventually for TV. They have to for network TV.
Right.
How much longer can you keep it going? And also, I feel for the guy because like, he was talking, he's like, long, like 24 episodes is huge. Like, he talks about like the stuff that him and the other actors and even the crew has to go through because,
Yep.
they got a call time at 4. The crew is there, at 1 in the morning, setting stuff up or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but also, I mean, he did, to me, I always got the impression that he was appreciative of the role and loved the role and just decided to end it on a high note, which I don't know if he accomplished or not. I watched the final season of Arrow and it was weird. Did you see it?
No. It's one of those similar to you reviewing Ghostbusters, where I feel like I've seen it because I've heard people talk about it such detail that
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen it. And then I'm like, wait, actually did not put eyes on that final season. By the way, everybody, I do have up on the screen the Inside of You podcast with Michael Rosenbaum. Not that he needs my plug, but hey.
He got it anyway.
Shout out to, before you explain the final season, Aaron Waller, he says, was this a show that Amel was promoting when he was beefing with Stardust at live WWE shows? I think he was at the WWE shows before Heels was out.
Yeah.
Because I think when Heels came out, we were all like, oh, wow, he actually has the athleticism to do like wrestling. So I think this was before that. And Legacy's in the house. Good to see you, brother. So
yeah, that was way before Heels. Maybe that helped. I don't know if he has any sort of creative credit on this. Maybe that's gave him the idea to do a show like that. But
maybe. Because he loves wrestling.
Pat Smith, I love the Rosenbaum show too. He his guests lately and listen to the Sam Whitmer one. Sorry, I'll stop plugging the competition after this. That one is so good. And I went on a tear of listening to like Sam Whitmer talk about Star Wars and everything, and it's just like get him in the room, like get him involved creatively. He checked Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
He nerd checked Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know about Sam Whitmer.
I also love that when we were talking about Palpatine versus Palpatine versus Maul last week with Kenobi, that Sam was voicing both people. Like he was literally on both sides of the lightsaber, like talking shit to the other person. Like amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
I got to watch that again and see if I can actually pick it out. I didn't even realize, and like I said, I didn't realize he was the son in the episode where they go to basically meet the Force, like
he does
Ahsoka,
everything.
Anakin, and Obi-Wan.
That was crazy. Does everything.
He's fucking cool. Very cool. They even at the CE2 or something I saw. Excuse me. They had the Star
C2,
Wars,
E2?
the Clone Wars C2E2. They had the Clone Wars cast there, and like and the good guys are all sitting on a couch together. He's sitting on a black chair, like an arm's length away. I don't know if that's just because they couldn't get a 4-seater couch, or is because they're I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And look at that. Man's done everything.
Yeah. And let me back up.
Wait, he was in Solo? He must have just been a voice.
I think he did Maul. I think he voiced Maul
Oh,
in Solo.
yeah, that would make
Yeah.
sense. Oh, I
He
ca I so what's his face? What's his face? Ray Park has never actually spoken a line as Darth Maul and had it stick.
yeah. Yeah. He
Okay.
to the I mean we're gonna you know dick ride for lack of better phrasing Sam here. The dude got into Juilliard acting school on like a whim that you should do it, and he was like, I don't feel like it, but I guess I'll do it, and didn't memorize anything for the audition until the day of or night before,
Y-
and then it's
Yeah.
like, I guess I'll just show up and do it, and got in, and then got kicked out because he was like, this is stupid.
Yeah, he didn't
Kicked
care.
out of acting school. This is stupid. Unbelievable. And yeah, Michael Rosenbaum, voice of Flash. Didn't know that until like probably five-ish years ago, I want to say. I saw him at they were doing a panel reading, and I was like, what the hell's Lex doing here? He's been Flash the whole time.
Yeah, and actually, so I knew that. I thought you knew that, otherwise I would have told you. But that just makes the episode where Lex and the Flash do a body swap all the funnier because
Yeah.
they kept the voices the same, obviously, and yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, totally on a Whitmer kick right now.
Yeah. Whitwer, Alan Richson, and Jen Ackles are all great episodes of the podcast. Yeah. Jensen Ackles, I should say.
Oh,
All
I
very
was gonna
good.
say Jen.
Yeah, no, Jensen. It's funny how
Yeah.
many of these dudes are like so beloved by us hardcores that like most people don't pay attention to. But it's like if Disney just let them try, like just let Dave do his thing, and then Dave gets his boys in the room and his girls or whoever. He goes, "All right,
Yeah.
guys, this is what I want to do. What do you think?" And people check him, like, "No, this will work. No, that one's not going to work." But like whatever. That's what needs to be happening. But and I mean another one, right? Somebody who I kind of have some beef with sometimes. I feel like, or not beef, heat, to take the wrestling term. Freddie Prinze, right? Like Freddie Prinze, like,
What's your problem with Kanan?
well, Kanan in Rebels, in case people don't know, also a longtime writer for the WWE. A lot of people didn't know that. He's a huge wrestling fan. And the my beef with him, even though he also can check Dave Filoni, like he has that ability now in the world of Star Wars. He was one of the ones that came out one time and was alluding to the whole like, well, Star Wars is for kids. Like, shut the fuck up. Like, just leave it alone. Like one of those. And I'm like, dude, no. It's more than that. Sad to say, I hate to admit it, it's more than that for a lot of us.
It is. I've heard that rant. I haven't heard it in a while, so I need to hear him. I need to hear. I know, like he like was cursing it. Well, not cursing out, but like Star Wars Theory was like, oh, Freddie Prinze cursed out Star Wars fans, and like I remember I listened to it at the time, and I'm like,
Mhm.
he's cursing. I don't know if he's cursing.
Right.
I don't think he's cursing out the fan base.
Yeah.
But I'll have to give that another listen before I talk about it. But
Imagine, dude, they're gonna do it. They're gonna clip this shit. And by say when I'm talking to somebody to clip this, I'm talking to myself in the future. Steve,
future
clip
Steve.
this shit. Freddie Prinze is gonna play Kanan in a flashback in Ahsoka. I feel it.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I would
Like,
love that.
Honestly, okay, I guess. I mean, you could have probably made Ashley Eckstein. I'm not sure how to say her last name. Been in live action Ahsoka. Just rely on more stunt people than you normally would have. Because I don't know if I don't know if she was always a voice actress. I'm sure she did some on camera stuff, but you know, if it works, it works. Like they can't all be Katie Sackhoff, but I'm a fan of keeping the voice into live action. Keep the voice actor into live action if possible. Like
Hmm.
he's dead, but not that stop it. Put Sam Whitmer in the Darth Maul makeup, and
Yeah.
then sub in Ray Park when he's flipping around.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think their scenario is an interesting one because you have two people that both embody the character and fans love both versions of the character. Like episode 1, that's like the reason to watch that movie. Like him versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. And then you watch
Yes.
Clone Wars and you're like, Freddy's killing it at this. And then the worlds collide, in case people didn't know, in the final season of Clone Wars when Maul fights Ahsoka, they actually for the first time had the whole like it's not 3D, but like when they put the dots on a person and the person actually acts out a scene and then they computer generate them into the show. Like that was the first time they ever done that, and he did that for the fight scene. So that was our first merging of the two people into the singular character, which was amazing. But I would disagree with you on that one. That's the only one I think I probably would disagree because I'm like, I like both people in both portrayals of the same person. When it comes to Ashley, it's a weird one because it like fans fan casted Rosario for years.
Yeah.
Even though we loved Ahsoka, the cartoon character. I think back then we just didn't think you could have a live action, and especially have a voice actor or actress do live action. So Rosario is a fan cast, just like John Krasinski is a fan cast of Mr. Fantastic. So with her, I think I also will, this is a minor spoiler to our ramble. I'm going to veto her voicing over Ahsoka in the show. However, I'm down for her to play or do a Last of Us where she voices somebody in Ahsoka's life, like her mom or something.
Right.
I'm down for that.
Well, to be fair, I just meant like not like the entire show. I just meant like for a sec. Like I meant like in a hollow recording or
Yes,
like
you're
in
right.
something we hear Ashley's voice. Sorry to be familiar. I'm not going to butcher her last name again. We hear her voice versus Rosario's for a second.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
And I don't hate Rosario's casting because I was one of them too, who was like, yes, great. The fan art looks great. Cast her. And I'm not saying bring Ashley in because I'm upset. We haven't seen enough of Rosario to be upset at all.
No.
So, but,
and nobody can hate Rosario Dawson.
No, God, no. Aaron says that Freddie Prinze Jr. was saying he doesn't want to do his character in live action because the story was perfect in Rebels. And I'm good. I definitely don't want to see him come back to life. I don't want to see any forced trickery like that.
No.
But I would just be cool with, like I said it in the chat, just a flashback. Like have him portray Kanan in a flashback. You know, they're doing it could be anything, like just like all of them standing around the ship in Rebels for a minute being all happy, or like when Ezra, because spoilers for Rebels, Ezra gives his lightsaber to Sabine, the resident Mandalorian on that show, before he goes off and does his thing. When Sabine hands Ezra back his lightsaber, assuming that he's in the show, like we all assume and have kind of heard, like if he takes it or looks at it and then flashes back to like when he built his first lightsaber with Kanan, because that first lightsaber, I know did you see his first lightsaber? Because I know you're not into Rebels too much.
Yeah.
So for those in the chat, sorry if this is repeat information. It was really cool because it looks awful, but it's a lightsaber blaster because Ezra's so new and just like has nothing, like no skill really. And Kanan, for as much as we love him, he was definitely not ready to be a teacher at all. Jedi teacher, yeah. So it definitely, I mean, it's interesting. Definitely doesn't look like anything traditional, but it's cool that they also did it as a blaster.
Yeah.
So all I'm saying is some sort of flashback would be cool, just for the fans. I don't think he has anything against us. So again, if it's done right and it's a one and done, I don't see why he wouldn't suit up just for the hell of it. I think he would want to. I know Aaron's saying that he said he didn't want to, but I mean, I don't know how recent that comment is. If it's not
But for the
recent and a couple years has passed and he's seeing other people doing it, why not?
for the right script, yeah, because Freddie Prinze doesn't need money, but for the right script, I think he would.
I was gonna say for the right payday too. Why don't you think he needs money? All that WWE paycheck?
Oh yeah, I mean between him and Sarah Michelle Gellar, like they're financially good. Like I mean he left WWE because he was just like I'm tired of working this thing. Like this is just but you do that, you do Star Wars. He voice acts, in Star Wars. He's voice acted other things. I'm sure he did a movie that came out on Netflix. Like he just does things just cause his passion's actually wrestling, which is funny. Like he has a desire to one day run his own wrestling promotion. Like that's how much he loves wrestling. But you don't imagine it's the same thing with of course you'll pronounce it better than I could. Was it John Mags Anelli? Mags was Sofia Vergara's husband.
Oh,
Dapper dude.
Joe Manganiello?
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. Him
Yeah.
or Henry Cavill. Like these dapper ass dudes that love nerdy ass shit. Like, they're both into D&D, but that's come out in recent years. Freddie Prinze, you see Freddie Prinze like all dapper on She's All That and stuff. But little do you know, he's sitting there loading up AOL to read spoilers for Raw on Monday night. Like, that's his jam. And yes, shout out to Wing Commander, as Lenny pointed out.
Wing Commander is one of the few video games I've played. I never finished it, obviously, but I played one of the later ones where like the cutscenes were Mark Hamill playing I can't remember his name, playing the character, like voicing the character, and they had like live action cut-ins.
Yes. Yep.
And it's like they bring him back like out of retirement to come back and fight and whatnot. So
how young that dude is.
damn,
It's crazy.
that's insane. And like imagine being like pitch this as a video game and he's like, I kind of did this, right? Okay, sure.
Yeah. Like, where you that guy in what's that show? Star Trek? Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. People forget that Star Wars was like down in the dumps before Disney bought them. Like Clone Wars being out was kind of like it was oh yeah, there's that other Star Wars thing. It wasn't.
Yeah, nobody
It
like
wasn't.
it was just after the prequels, and I mean before the prequels, obviously it had been at least in the start of the 90s. When did Return of the Jedi came out in the early 80s? So
89, I
it's
think.
been
87.
really okay. So the late 80s.
Yeah.
So you're coming off of it. Everybody thinks it's done. People have probably forgotten about it for the most part, and then like they have the re-release
I'm way off.
in the late 90s.
Sorry, 83.
It did come out in 83. Holy shit!
Yeah.
So they did. Because wow, when did Empire come out?
Let's see. 80.
Wow, so they did like so Star Wars was in like 77, 78,
Mm-hmm.
and then 80, and then 82. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, so then Star Wars has been the masses are thinking, all right, yeah, Star Wars was that film from the 80s and it's done, and like maybe Lucas did a couple video games here and there, but that's just a video game, nobody whatever. And then he does the re-release, and then he does the prequels, and after that like still it kind of died out again, and then excuse me, Clone Wars starts up, and same thing, the first few seasons has a lot of misses, some hits, but a lot of
But
misses,
mostly misses.
and
Yeah.
but yeah, Disney buying it was huge because you knew that was the only like that was everybody knew you were getting more movies at least once the Disney merger happened, because he had been talking about it on and off like, I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't want to die making Star Wars. I don't want to be doing Star Wars when I'm 80.
He being
And
Mark
he
Hamill.
couldn't. Oh no, I'm talking about George Lucas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. like Lucas was like, yeah, no, because I mean, Mark Hamill doesn't have any say in really doing it or making it. Uh, I remember reading for years, like he was trying to get a TV show. I don't know if it was going to be The Mandalorian, but he was trying to make a Star Wars TV show and shop it around to like regular Fox
Yep.
TV. You know, not like, I don't know if Fox has a streaming network. There wasn't a streaming
There
network
was
at
no
the time.
streaming back then. Yeah.
There was no streaming back then, so he was like trying to shop out a Star Wars TV show to regular cable TV, and like the production, like the prices now take off $1 million per episode, maybe, for whenever this guy was talking about doing it. And because it was just him, like it would have bankrupted Lucasfilm, I think. But you know, so I'll give the mouse credit. It allowed us to finance The Mandalorian.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, they definitely have the deep enough pockets to keep this stuff going.
Yeah.
Which is, you know.
So
Is this a Hey Archer or a ramble?
Yeah. I mean, they're kind of all the same at this point. I do want to point out, when I think of the Freddie Prinze Jr. flashback, I'm talking something like the 2003. It's a short, maybe 30 seconds. And this scene here, again, when this show's on another level. First of all, 2003 Clone Wars is a whole different thing. But this scene was Anakin's remembering the trials, and he didn't really have a proper trials. And we knew that from the movies, but then it turns out that there were moments where Qui-Gon did teach him when he was a child. And I think it was meant to be like in his mind, like it didn't actually happen, but like he's imagining like Qui-Gon actually training him. Either way, it's not canon anymore, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I want this kind of flashback, like, you know, Ezra just thinking back to moments with Kanan and it's Freddie Prinze, and it's live action.
Yeah,
versus the
that's all
cartoon.
I'm not saying he should be a Force ghost. I'm definitely not saying he should have been a Force ghost with Ezra this entire time or anything like that.
Yeah, no.
You know, just a little, like, again, I'm just looking for fan service. Just a little fan service, and fan service that also like serves a point. Like, don't throw it in there just because I want it. Throw it in there because, like I said, it makes sense for it to. Either he remembers something and it advances the story they're going for, or like I said, gets handed back his lightsaber after what, 10, 20 years, or however long it is, and he just thinks back naturally to his first lightsaber and his first master. Mm-hmm. That's it. Done. Over and done. Freddie Prinze is offset within 3 hours.
Yeah. Done and done. That'd be great. What's up, Mulatto? Good to see you.
By the way, I did see Creed. I watched it at work. Totally jumping topics.
Creed 3?
Creed 3. It's already out to buy digitally. So we watched it at work.
Oh. Why didn't you say that before?
Because we were talking Star Wars. All
right, fair.
Jeez.
Well, how was Creed?
It was enjoyable. It was, it was a Rocky film. You know what's going to happen. So
did you watch the first two before watching the third one?
I watched them, like, I didn't see them in theaters, but I saw them like more or less after whenever they became available to watch on demand. I watched. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I enjoyed them. They're good movies. I think they're, it was a good way to keep to reinvigorate the franchise.
Yeah. The
Rocky franchise. They took a lot of time between movies, and I can't remember the timeline of when they came out, so I don't know how much the pandemic or anything else, but it's also good, like, Rocky, when Rocky was, beaten after what was it, Rocky 5, where he ends up having the street fight because he lost all his money, like, that was too much. So the less is more approach is fine, but yeah, this was enjoyable. Again, it's not, it's a Rocky movie. You've seen one, you've seen them all, you know what's going to happen. It's entertaining. I will say I did miss Stallone, not only as Rocky, because everybody knows he's not in this, but I don't know, something about it. Like, again, you have the Rocky things that they're doing the thing. They have the training montage. You have the boxing matches. And I don't know how much of it is Stallone but like, I don't know, they felt a little lacking this time. Like, still good, and like they tried something different with the final fight. I won't tell you about it specifically unless you want me to do spoilers, but like they did something different for part of it, which was cool. But I don't know, it just like it didn't feel as like I've gotten into the final fights in these movies before, even the other two Creed movies, not just the Rocky movies. I was watching it. I wasn't like in it
Mm.
personally. So, but somehow Creed 4 is going to happen, and supposedly they're going to do a Drago series
Yeah.
about his son. So
El Taible.
everything's a universe now.
El Taible. Shout out to Know Your Craft for the super chat. I don't know why the widget didn't play. I had set up a widget so long ago for whenever we got a super chat, and it didn't play. I'm sad. Hang on, I'm gonna try
Thank
to
you,
figure
Know
that.
Your Craft.
I'm gonna try to figure that out. Why did it not work? Hey, let me sign in real quick. I'm sad. I'm so pumped for it. Oh, wrong thing. Hang on, back. I saw that people are ranking Creed 3 as a top 3 Rocky movie. Is that accurate?
It's up there. I don't know. So I mean, I haven't thought about ranking them, but maybe it could be top 5. I'd have to think a little bit. But well, so personally, I think what was the first one he did after all those years? That was just called Balboa, right? Balboa.
Yeah, Balboa.
So I think that actually is that. I think I would say it's that Rocky,
Perfect.
maybe
That's what it would have been.
maybe Rocky 2,
So everybody can see.
and then yeah, maybe I can give. I don't know. I think the first Creed is pretty damn good. I think the first Creed, just because it was something a little bit different. Again, it's still a Rocky movie, but like seeing this guy and like seeing the new generation come up, if you can call it it's a new generation. I think they made the Drago story work for the second one,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. I think I'd still say the original Creed is the better of the three, and maybe if I'm ranking just those, I'd probably put Creed 3 at number 2
Wow.
because it's maybe I'd have to really think about it more. I'm just kind of shooting off the hip here. Just because it's like it seems so weird that they actually went back and did the Drago revenge story and for a boxing movie,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
So Lenny does
But,
say not close to top 3 Rocky movie. And Lenny did see all of these. I'll say that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've seen all the Rocky movies too. I just haven't seen them all in a while. They keep replaying the first one all the time, and then the first one, 4 with Drago, and then Balboa is always on. But I can't tell you the last. I will not watch the one. I guess it's Rocky 5 where he loses all his money. That one was just terrible.
Rocky 5.
Yeah.
Tommy Gunn, I want to say.
Tommy Gunn.
Is the name of the guy?
Yeah, I think it was Tommy Gunn. And he was a real boxer, right? Or he
was an amateur
before
boxer.
that,
Yeah.
or amateur boxer, and he has a whole ton of issues, or had a whole ton of issues. I don't know if he's still alive. Rocky 4. Well, yeah, it's Rocky versus communism. Same. Action the same. Rocky 4 is the top of them.
So I have Rocky 3 at number 1. I think Rocky 3 is my favorite one. And I understand that's not a popular take. It's one of those I never try to convince anybody any differently. I know It's not a hot take. I just love, as a fight fan, as a MMA fan, seeing it happen in real life and then seeing that movie. I'm like, oh shit, what he said is right. The part where he learns that Mickey has been giving him layups this whole time. And he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I've been giving you chumps, Rock. He's like, what? No, I beat the ball. What? And he's like, you become domesticated. Like that whole thing. I'm like, it's one thing you see it, but watching fighters like Ronda Rousey Conor McGregor, Kamaru Usman. Like, these are people who were like savages on the way up. Then they start getting those TV appearances. And then the movie deals start to happen. And then what happens? L, 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 L. Just starts happening. I'm like, holy shit, that movie's accurate. Like, you do get soft. And that was the line too. I think he was saying, he's like, the worst thing that can happen to a boxer is they become domesticated. Like, you're not hungry anymore. Like, it's hard to wake up in the morning and have that drive when you woke up on silk sheets. And I love the movie for that. And then there's the part with Adrian where he's like, I'm afraid. You want to hear me say it? I'm afraid. And I'm like, God, that's so good. You know, but it's only that. The clubber fight, whatever. Like, Mickey dying, whatever. But that part where he's learning to be a fighter again, I'm like, this is good dialogue. I'm all for it.
So you're saying we're gonna watch every Rocky and every Creed and rank them, is what you're telling me?
I would love to do that.
I do that because I got to tell you the truth. Like I said, I haven't seen. Like I said, the first Drago and Balboa are the ones that are always on, and I know I'm butchering his fake last name, and I'm Italian. Shoot me. I remember the I'm afraid thing. I don't remember the part about Mickey, him confronting Mickey, and Mickey saying he's been giving him chumps. So that's honestly, I was like, what, really? I mean, I believe you, but I was just like, I completely forgot all about that. So that makes me like want to watch it again, because now maybe I would have to change the ranking that didn't even include that on in my head. So
yeah, no, he goes to Chicago, and Apollo teaches him how to dance, aka how to have foot movement. and he goes to the gym, and they're all just looking at him like, what do you bring this white boy in here for? Like, it's fucking, that's great. I think
how to be fast.
It does, yeah. Learns how
to swim.
The
whole thing was it's what nobody wants to do. It's what no lifter wants to do, is you got to include cardio. The whole thing was, the whole Rocky 3 was Apollo convincing Rocky to do cardio day finally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think those are also those moments, like Rocky 4 when Apollo's going to fight Drago, like, as a fight fan, and maybe OGs that watch those movies in real life who were boxing fans saw the same thing. I'm not sure, but you know, seeing some of these fights, like I look at like a Chuck Liddell, like I'll pull up Chuck Liddell now so people can see what he looks like. Because back in the early 2000s, like he was killing it when it came to popularity, when it came to MMA. But like Chuck Liddell got to a point where it's like, all right, dude, it's time to stop. And it's like, nah, man, I got one more. I got another one. And then you lose it. You know what? I was just off that night. I got one more. And it just keeps on rolling. And I think Rocky 4, one of the things I love about it is, yeah, they're like, Apollo, why do you want to fight this guy? You have nothing to prove. But when that's been your job, when your job for the last 20 years has been to be the baddest man on the planet, it's hard to turn that off. It's hard to be like, I'm good. I'm
sure
retired.
It would be.
Yeah. In my mansion here.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean,
Chuck Liddell still thinks he can fight. That's the wild part about that.
How old is he now?
Let's see. Like, close the screen. Chuck Liddell. How old are you, Chuck?
Since we're on this, and if it isn't apparent by 53. Now to those in the chat, he's 53. Now you're done. But I have no fight knowledge. I don't watch MMA, UFC, any of that. So I do this. I trust you completely on all this stuff. I never watched it. I don't even know how you would have watched it because it wasn't on HBO, I don't think. Tyson's comeback fight, or not comeback fight, but whatever the hell he called it, his exhibition fight.
Oh, yeah.
How good or bad was it? Because I've heard a lot of both sides, but I don't remember it. Excuse me if it's a past video, but what the hell was your take?
You know, I'm actually forgetting who he fought recently. And this is where Lenny comes in. Who was the last fight? Tyson's last fight. So it was an exhibition match.
Yeah.
And was it Roy Jones? It was an exhibition, and they were like, they could. I guess it was Roy Jones. Roy Jones also fought an MMA fighter last week and lost decision. Like, he needs to stop. But it was like you can't. There was no punches to the head, I want to say, and no knockdowns? Question mark. So, for somebody who's just punching the body, who used to do it as a job, I think he did good. But if you were like, oh, put him in there versus an actual like hungry dude, I don't think he stood a chance. Because I know that, you just said it. It's not that you're the biggest fighting fan out there, but literally Tyson part of, there's many parts to it, but part of Tyson's downfall to the wider combat sport world is that people learned how to time his combos. Like he had like 3 combos that he would do. And I was like, all right, if I figure them out and know how to avoid them, I can take him. And that was part of his downfall. But yeah, Lenny says here, Tyson went out as well as you could have hoped.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying?
I was going to say, see, I didn't even know that. I just remember I just assumed that like he had, because I remember, the ear biting, and then I just like I didn't pay attention. I was a kid at the time, I think.
Yeah.
Because that happened in the early 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, then like I kind of just assumed it was like the ear biting, and then he lost a couple fights. I didn't realize why. I just figured, he was starting to get older. I didn't realize people had timed him out. And then like legal issues, and then he was gone.
Oh yeah. I mean, it was a whole, I mean, Tyson's only back now rolling in dough really because of Spike Lee. Like that's another thing I feel like people don't really talk about. Like Spike Lee got Tyson to agree to doing like a stand-up tour where he would just, and it was kind of like the beginning of the whole movement of storytelling as comedy versus like comedy bits. And like the person telling the story, that's where they would include the comedic parts, and you're just going to see the person perform. And I remember there was even an HBO special on it. Tyson, let me see if I can find a picture of that. Let's see. Tyson, Spike Lee.
Wow, imagine listening to Tyson speak for a prolonged period of time.
Yeah, I would I say it to his face? No, but
no,
I didn't enjoy it. Like I was watching part of it and I was like, that's all right. But what happens is he's going on this tour, and I think he got a residency in Vegas, I want to say. Like I could be wrong, but he was on Broadway at one point doing this thing, and people were paying to go see Tyson talk about his fights. And you mainly want to go for the wild stories, like him talking about buying tigers, because why not buy tigers? Like, Jim Jones, the rapper from Dipset, he was like, Tyson was the only dude that could walk into the tunnel in Manhattan. It was a club. He was the only guy that could walk into the tunnel with like a fur coat on, no shirt, and a giant chain, and nobody fucked with him. He's like, all the rest of us, you had to roll like 10 deep. You had to be packing just to feel like I can go to a tunnel, have a good time, and leave without an issue. And Tyson just by himself. Like, you go for those stories. And then he does this tour, starts making the money, and then they decide like, hey man, you should do a podcast. So Tyson does hot boxing with Mike Tyson. And I have to admit, he didn't do most of the talking when the show started. The show starts off, it's this white guy, I wish I could remember his name. In this picture here, he's over on to the left of Tyson. And he's the guy who's like carrying the conversation as Tyson's there just lighting up the entire time, getting kind of high. And that was the show. And then the show started to pop. And now the show is uber popular. And the dude, the white guy, was like, I want more money. Like, I'm a part of this. And they're just like, peace. So now Tyson has other people do the show with him. But that part will always bother me. But yeah, So that's why Tyson got back into fame, money. He has his own weed company now. All off
Because
of
of Joe
Spike
Rogan, I
Lee.
know about the weed company.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But yeah,
didn't
Spike
realize
Lee
that he
brought him
had his
back.
own podcast. Wow.
Oh, you didn't know
Interesting.
that? Hot boxing?
No, because like I mean, again, it's nothing against the guy. He's not anybody I would have followed necessarily. So I
Right.
knew he did the comeback fight, and I know Rogan's had him on. I want to say a couple times, and then
Mm-hmm.
Rogan talks about him, and I've heard like the pot thing, and then I didn't realize anything about. I didn't know he did the tour. I didn't know about Spike Lee, so I
Mm-hmm.
just figured like, oh, okay, he got people really want to buy his brand of pot, and that's why he, you know, came back or
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, not why he came back. That's how he like because I've heard he's flush again after all the financial trouble. Like his I did see something. It was probably an old HBO documentary. His like showing his mansion in I want to say Vegas that got seized and it's still like full of all his shit and like they went and like walked through it. They got permission, I guess, and it was like crazy. You can see how he spent all of his money and you're
Yeah.
just like wow.
Yeah.
So, but
No.
yeah, no, I had no idea.
It's funny that so many athletes and fighters, like nowadays, like people know, like all right, if I get money, I got to be responsible. I got to do whatever. Like these guys back in the day, like they got taken advantage of because, you got a guy like Don King, probably walking away with, I don't know, this is random, right? This is a random number. But let's say Don King walks away with like 50% of your money. Like somebody like Tyson doesn't realize that my promoter getting half my check is a problem because I'm still getting $1 million and I'm a poor kid from Brooklyn with $1 million. Like, who gives a shit how much my promoter's getting? But little do you know, that's what's going to fuck you up in the end. And nobody telling you that $1 million you got today, that's not a guaranteed $1 million tomorrow or the next day. Like being a fighter has an expiration date. Nobody tells him that. And that's why you have him, he went down the path he went. Holyfield went down the path he went. George Foreman went down the path they went. These heavyweight champions that they got nothing.
Yeah.
They get nothing.
Which is sad. Like, I do feel for them for that because anybody who does football players too, like anybody who does a sport like that where you're getting assaulted for a living for our
Yeah.
entertainment. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's on them. You should like obviously you don't know at the time and you're young and you're trusting. Personal responsibility to have, you're to keep yourself be smart with your money, but like when they're left with nothing and like then you hear stories like this, yeah, okay, they rich, they were rich, they're still famous, they could go out and do shit like this, but I still feel for them when I hear stories like that.
Yeah.
And they don't always all come back because Spike Lee is not going to do this for everybody.
No. And that's why so many of us hate Dana White, because all this stuff is now known and people are well aware of promoters fucking over fighters over the years, and Dana still chooses to do it and nobody says anything. And that's why fight fans and media advocate for combat fighters getting paid more when they won't, because they're like, I'm not going to piss off my promoter pays me. But I mean, I can do a whole episode on Dana White, how he's a piece of shit. But, that's for another day.
Well, him and Vince McMahon can swap stories now, right?
Man,
Yeah.
Evil Empire. The Evil Empire. That's going to burn.
Halloween's coming. One of them. I mean, so again, I'm out of I was into wrestling. I'm out of it, and I never was into UFC. So like hearing that about the sale and everything, even I'm just wondering like what the hell is going to happen. And I'd heard all the stories about Vince McMahon, and I had heard like that WWE hadn't been good for a while, and he was like probably holding on to the reins too tightly. And then it had the resurgence after he left, and Triple H was in charge and all that stuff. And then I heard the day after the merger on the Raw after WrestleMania, which, by the way, hearing WrestleMania between the 2 days is a total of 8 hours.
Yeah.
I'm so good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, I would have been like, yeah. As an adult, I'm like, I'm not
I got
giving you
shit to do.
4 hours on each day.
Yeah.
Like I'll watch the highlights and whatever. But yeah, like you heard, did you hear about like supposedly on the Raw the next day after the sale, he was like back in full creative control
Oh
and
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
up to his old shit, like
yeah,
tearing up the script
yeah,
between matches and stuff. And it's like,
yeah.
damn, dude, how egotistical are you?
Oh, he
Like
made the damn
it
thing.
was,
That's how his
I
brain
know, I
works.
get it. You made it and everything
Yeah.
else, but it's also like it was working without you. Like again, like this kind of ties into uh Lucasfilm and
Hmm.
Disney. Listen to your fan base. The fans are enjoying what this guy is doing. The fans are Triple H being this guy. The
You don't know
fans
what's
are
good for
enjoying
you.
what for it's like just because you made it, and I understand, I definitely can see where he's coming from, feeling that sense of, no pun intended, ownership over the product.
Hmm.
But dude, you can't, it's not going to be yours forever. You are going to die eventually, especially with
But
all
he
that shit
wants
you
to.
pumped into your
His
body.
So there's a position called gorilla, right?
Yeah.
Gorilla Monsoon, former wrestler, used to he had a position behind the curtain, right? And Lenny and actually Billy's in the chat too. Shout out to Billy. They can of course explain things better than I could, but there was a position called gorilla where you're behind a curtain, people come out, and before the wrestler goes out, Gorilla's like, "Hey, by the way, you're going to do this, or we're changing it, do this instead." Like that's the gorilla position. Vince's dream is to die in gorilla, and not kidding. Like
Oh
he wants
God.
to die doing the show.
Wow.
That's his fantasy. Now, there are moments where and Freddie Prinze, going back to him since you're talking Star Wars and actually talking Marvel, part of the allure of watching Royal Rumble, watching WrestleMania, watching Survivor Series, SummerSlam, like the big four, is somebody going to come out that I'm not expecting? Is somebody going to come out who left? Like Royal
Gotcha.
Rumble especially. Like talk about going to see a movie for the end credits because of a spoiler being leaked online. That's the Royal Rumble. Like you're watching Rumble because 30 men, 30 women, who's going to be the person to come out that I just never thought. And then the same at WrestleMania. Like I came back into wrestling as a overviewer. Like I don't watch every week, but like I watch the big four and I try to follow what's happening. But I came back and like 2 years after that is when the Hardy Boys came back in Mania. And that was wild. Like nobody saw it coming. They wrestled the night before or the same day at another event. So people were like, oh, they're definitely not going to come back to WWE. There's no way. And then they show up like, so you watch it for that Marvel effect. But when it comes to Vince and to Freddie Prince's point, if you ever listen to him talk about wrestling or talk about Vince, I should say, is he'll tell you like people will hate Vince's take on things and Vince's plan, but that motherfucker got a plan. He's like, that motherfucker got a plan, and you got to sometimes just roll with it and trust him that it will come to fruition. And
Mm.
the recent one that I could always think of is Roman Reigns. Like Roman Reigns, like Vince shoved Roman down our throats. He shoved a lot of things down people's throats.
Whoa.
For
Whoa.
but
Give yourself a boo on that one, man.
yeah, sorry, I had to do it. But Vince shoved Roman in our faces for so long, and people were like, "I'm sick of this shit. Like, give me somebody else. Roman versus Brock. Roman versus that freaking dude with the sword. Roman versus Brock again. Like, it's just like I'm tired of it." But he did it so much that eventually Roman became a heel. And at that point, you hated that man so much already that when he turned heel, it actually worked. And you're like, fuck Roman Reigns. And I'm watching
Right.
because fuck him. And
Right.
it was, and yes, Lenny, allegedly. But, and it worked. And those are those moments when you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe he does have an idea of what he's doing from time to time.
Yeah.
But Dana's another
Listen,
story.
well, I mean, I don't know. I know as little as I still know about wrestling, I know zero about UFC, so I'm not talking about that. I'm not trying to say that Vince didn't have, I'm not saying he still doesn't have it, but it's just like, again, to me, I mean, hopefully it's because I'm not that type of person. I just don't
Mhm.
understand the arrogance to where like, he didn't look at it while he was away because there's no way he wasn't watching week to
Right.
week.
Right.
And like Triple H did that interview where like he even said he's like, yeah, I think he said in the interview like Vince kind of said something like, well, yeah, it's yours now or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously
Yeah.
not to say like he wouldn't ever come back, but like if that's true, like you put your trust in this guy, you definitely were watching it week to week. Again, supposedly it was working because I haven't seen it firsthand, so I don't have a fan opinion on it. But I don't know, like the arrogance to come back and just like do all that, and like when I feel like there's week to week is a much more fan to you interaction, between online and everything else. And it's not like their products are years in, I mean, granted, the storylines can be years in the making,
Hmm.
sometimes probably only a year
Sometimes.
in the making.
Hmm.
But for the most part, it's a year cycle building up to WrestleMania. Uh, just I'm just saying all the positive feedback that they were getting. I don't understand why he had to come back in and flex his nuts like that. Aside from the fact that he wanted to and he could.
That's what executives do.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, and to go to again, I said it before, but go full circle on Star Wars. You get a success like Rogue One, and they don't even bother say, "Hey, why don't we trust the people who made this, that made it good, to replicate it? We need to have control because obviously that was a win because of us." And when you look at Clone Wars and Clone Wars being so popular, it comes back and still gets high viewership. You would think they would say, you know what, Dave, you do you. You just let us know how much of a check you need. Can't
exactly.
do it. They're like, nah,
No.
Dave, you're here because of us. And I'm going to tell you what makes good Star Wars. It's just how it works. That's
Yeah.
the C-suite, ladies and gentlemen, of any company,
Mm.
except what you do for a job because you don't have a C-suite. Actually, you do. You do have somewhat of a C-suite.
I guess, but yeah, it doesn't.
Doesn't directly affect you like
No, no.
that.
The day to days of I'm very rarely visited by the corporate structure of the fire department.
Exactly.
I did have to do a city mandated EEO training, which was just like again, it's like wow, you have to tell people this, but that's neither here
Yeah.
nor there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just popped into my head. It's just like, huh, okay, cool, all right.
Yeah.
Uh, but actually, so going back full circle, let's get back on Sam Whitmer's dick for a second. I don't remember if it was. I don't think it was in Inside of You. So you got to find the clip. All of you in the chat who want to listen. He talks about the genius of George Lucas in making those movies,
Hmm.
and he's like, basically, he's like, the first three were independent films because he somehow like negotiated the rights to keep it for the sequels and everything
Yeah.
else. So, like, he's like, Fox did the first one, and they're like going to ape shit, like, yeah, we're gonna make more. And then because he was smart and kept the rights, he was like, Whitmer's telling the story, and he's like, yeah, there was probably some attorney in the background not partying, being like, well, George is gonna do one, but we don't have the rights to it, and it's like, oh man, you wish that like somehow in that deal he's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna sell everything to you, Disney, for a shit ton of money, but
But
the creative control still rests with me and I
yeah.
have the final say.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm tired of doing all this shit. So let me introduce you to my cowboy hatted friend here.
Yeah.
So
I just want. I would have loved for him to just have creative say, but not have like the writing final say. Like I want him to have say in the direction things go, but none of the writing involved.
yeah,
Because let's not
yeah.
forget, I hate sand.
I hate
It's
sand.
coarse. It gets
Well,
everywhere.
yeah.
That's
And but
George
then like
Lucas.
supposedly it's on Instagram, so I don't know how
Yeah.
true or not it is. I keep like you've seen the meme where it's like dialogue they cut, dialogue they keep.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's real or not, but supposedly the dialogue they cut is like at some point Obi-Wan, probably when he goes to talk to Padme to find out about Anakin, like where he might be. Like supposedly he's like, Padme, I've tried to be blind for for your sake, but also for Anakin's. He's loved you since he was a child. It's like an actual like good, like the writing. I don't know if it's from Lucas or not, but whoever wrote it, that's good. Like back and forth between him and Padme, and it's shows like that supposedly Obi-Wan did know that he was in love with her the whole time and probably had a relationship, but he just turned a blind eye because he wanted Anakin to be happy because that's his brother, his son, however the dynamic you want to think of works. But yeah, then he keeps. I hate sand.
Yeah.
I hate sand.
Yeah.
So.
And if anybody
But
can
yeah,
tell,
like
if anybody can tell us why the Trade Federation did a blockade over Naboo and why nobody could help them, and explain that, by all means, go for it. Because otherwise, nobody knows. But they used a lot of big words in the Phantom Menace to say the Trade Federation blockade stopped the Imperial blah 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 blah.
blah 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 blah. Yes.
Yeah. So,
By the way, a blockade of 3 ships, and space is huge. You could have come into that planet from a lot of different angles.
A lot of different angles.
A lot of ins and outs, man.
Yeah. Lucas also wrote that Obi-Wan discovered a clone army that was assigned to the Jedi, and nobody bothered to question, should we look into this before we actually like activate this?
Yeah.
Or
yeah.
oh, you guys have guns? Yeah, just come with us. It's fine.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
Who's paying for this, by the way?
Yeah. Mace Windu, Mace Windu doesn't see one of them without a helmet ever to be like,
you look familiar.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Why do I know this guy?
Yeah. Hell, and then again, neither does, Obi-Wan doesn't question it either. He's seen Cody without his helmet on plenty of times.
Why do I know this guy?
Yeah, wait a minute. So who got you there?
Yeah.
Who got your DNA involved?
Wait, the guy who tried to kill the guy who tried to kill me is on this. Who
tried to kill Padme?
Sorry, he tried to kill no. The guy who tried to kill Padme, but actually the guy who paid the shapeshifter that paid the android to try to kill Padme, is on this planet, and his DNA is in these clones, but then he still tries to kill me. But then I kill him, but then his clones come and save the day. Something seems kind of off here.
Yeah.
Something's a little weird here.
Yeah. By the way, my former master's master said that the Senate's under the control of the Dark Lord of the Sith. And yeah, okay, I know he was a bad guy and everybody lies who's on the Sith, but I'm just going to do a little bit of due diligence just to prove that it's not true.
Yeah.
It's all those memes where it's like, yeah. But if you do all that, then there's no trilogy. Then there's no original trilogy. There's no prequel trilogy. The only good thing about that is there would be no sequel trilogy.
Yeah. I'm going to try to put a poll in the chat as we wrap this episode. And I thank all of you for being here through this ramble.
Yes, thank you.
Hang on. I'm almost done.
By the way, it is sad to hear about either, like you mentioned at the top, way at the top.
Yeah.
I'd been thinking that we haven't really done that in a while. I didn't. Oh, sigh.
All right. So, question has gone into the chat. If we got to Rise of Skywalker and you learned that Jar Jar was the Sith Lord the whole time, would that have changed your thoughts on the sequel trilogy? Would you have forgiven the entire thing if it turns out that Jar Jar was the Sith Lord?
No.
You're crazy.
No. God, no.
You're crazy.
I mean, I'm crazy, but that's neither here nor there. No.
I don't know.
That would have been, like, that's a funny theory that's going around, but, like, I don't know. Yeah, no. No. I can't. I can't formulate words to say it beyond no. No.
I don't know. Well, I think it would have. Before we wrap, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to give a shout out to Marvelous Collectibles. I put the link in the chat. He's currently doing his live stream. That's my like official like after show for doing this show. I usually jump in there. He's talking wrestling right now. He's drinking. He's having a good time. Shout out to the Marvelous Collectibles. He's going to be on the show at some point. I got to really organize that. But thank all of you for being here. And Anthony, anything you want to say before we wrap this extended edition episode?
Well, as you said, thank you guys for sticking with us this long. Thank you, sir, for having me and for joining me earlier on Rambling. New episode coming out, like the man said, tomorrow, maybe, or Saturday. Like this show, subscribe, join the Nerd Army, hit the store, get some merch. Summer's coming. We got tank tops. Show those guns. And shout out to Sal. Feel better, buddy. Yep. You have a lot of trailers, and we have a snap to get to. So get back to work already.
There you go. Couldn't have said it better myself. And I did forget to talk about Blue Beetle. So.
Oh, damn. Okay, we can do something on that tomorrow.
We can do something on that later. Yeah. Hey Archer Live every Thursday, 8:15-ish p.m. here on Nerd Affiliated. Nerdy Coffee, Monday morning, 9-ish a.m. here on Nerd Affiliated. More podcasts coming, more shorts coming. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, all that fun stuff. YouTube. Let's see where the poll is at the moment. Can I end the poll and show it? Let's see. I'm gonna count down from 10 in a second because I know there's a delay that happens here. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to all you nerds in the next video. You guys would have loved it if he was a Sith Lord. That's all I'm saying. The people have spoken, Anthony. The people have spoken. We'll see you guys next week. Peace.